Hey guys, welcome to the Art of Renovation Live. I'm your host, Paul Foster from Contact Renovation and Custom Homes. This week we're talking about reclaimed wood, whether it be for use as a surface in your home, whether it's for building furniture items. We have Urban Timber on the show today, so they're kind of experts in this field, and we'll talk to them a bit about the work that they do, how they use their products, some of the know-how and prep work that goes into actually reclaiming the material. So yeah, it'll be a great show. Lots of really beautiful stuff to showcase here today. So we're looking forward to chatting with Darren, and I think maybe his wife Leanne might pop in. They kind of co-own Urban Timber together. See if I can spot them here tuned in yet. I don't see them yet here. We'll give them a minute. Yeah, so if you're considering trying to salvage some material yourself to do a reclaimed wood project of some sort, whether it be a feature wall, whether it be a furniture item, there's definitely some stuff you need to consider and learn about before you do that. So tune in for that information, because you don't want to end up with a beautiful furniture piece that all of a sudden a whole bunch of ants crawl out of, or other unwanted critters. So let's see here. I'm just waiting to see if Urban's joined in yet. Not yet, so we'll give them a second to do so. Oh, I've now flipped the screen around. Not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, well, we'll give them a chance to get to the show here. I'll just put up the show cover in the background in the meantime. All right. So, reclaimed wood will be our topic. And we have Darren Cunningham from Urban Timber joining in a minute here. I'm just going to check for them. I don't see them yet, so we'll give them some time to join in. All right. So we have a giveaway item today. They've offered up a reclaimed wood charcuterie board with a Urban Timber cap. So we have a skill testing question, which I managed to get wrong myself when we posted the skill testing question on our feed there. So the question is to win this item is, which Edmonton bridge did Urban Timber reclaim wood from to build tables and other products? So when we get into the show here, we'll talk with Darren and we'll talk a bit about which bridge was used. So if you know which bridge it was, then go ahead and answer that in the comments, and then we'll draw for the charcuterie board and hat later in the show. All right, I see that Urban's joined up here, so I'll give them an invite back into the show here in just a second. All right. Urban Timber. All right, so give Darren a chance to join in here. So, yeah. Darren.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Beautiful day.
Yeah, it certainly is. I wish I was sitting outside. It's a little stuffy in my office. So I didn't actually introduce you yet, so I should probably do that now while we're sitting here chatting. So in the end, for those of you who don't know Urban Timber and Darren and where they come from, here's the background. So Leanne and Darren Cunningham together, they own Urban Timber. They're business partners and life partners. Darren started the business 10 years ago with his father, Vern. Vern would build tables out of his garage out in Regina, then drive them up to Edmonton, where Darren would finish off the pieces and sell them out to friends and family. Eventually, the business started to organically grow and take off, and soon they leased out an old service garage in downtown Edmonton, which has been now transformed into a showroom to show off their beautiful work. They're a small local business that takes great pride in quality craftsmanship of their reclaimed furniture and specialized wood products. So there you go. Great to have you on the show, Darren.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So I guess, so we have the giveaway item. Let's talk about the bridge real fast. So I got the answer wrong myself, as you know. And so we did a little skill testing question there on our story earlier. And in the end, tell us a bit about the bridge itself and how you got to be part of that, you know, how you got the material and just the story behind that. And that'll be a good way to start off on promoting our giveaway item.
Okay, so is the cat's out of the bag? I can
Well,
say.
yeah, usually I just give the answer at some point and then
Oh,
don't give it every time. So if they're following me now, great.
I
Um,
think somebody got it. I had seen somebody had already put it
oh
out.
yeah, someone's already got it. Oh, that's
It's up
okay. So
there.
it's a random draw. At the end of the show, we'll draw from all the people
Oh,
that have
okay.
answered. So
Okay. Well, it was indeed the Cloverdale Bridge. And how that came about was we there was a few people involved with that expansion of the LRT, including some members from council and some of the guys that were actually building had the contract for building and expanding the LRT line. And there was a couple guys that were pretty instrumental from the city and from that contract company who did not want to see that wood go to waste, and they wanted to see it, basically go back into the community. So we got contacted by the city to see if we were interested in it, and it was a all or nothing deal. So
oh,
we weren't just allowed to go out there and just pick through the wood and take the best wood. We had to take all of the wood, which ended up being, I think it was close to 8 lifts of 50 planks on each lift, 16 feet long,
wow.
and full of nails. They did not denail it, and so we had to denail it. And then the wood wasn't pressure treated, but it had a coating on it that was used to as a weather sealant. And so we have the equipment after we denail it. We have the equipment that takes that coating off, just takes a thin layer off of the wood, and then we were able to use those planks for furniture and a whole variety of things. We're actually right now, because part of our mandate with this was to make sure that the community got some of that wood back. So we're involved in a project with the community association to build a really cool piece of furniture down in the river valley, in cooperation with the city. And we're going to donate our time and material to that. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, salvaging reclaimed wood or wood to reclaim it, I suppose the act of that must certainly involve a whole bunch of labor in preparing that for use. So,
Right.
so yeah, so for those of you just tuning in, here's the giveaway item. It's a charcuterie board. I presume that's a reclaimed wood product as well?
No, as I give a really nice plug here, that actually is one of the items that we sell. We have a little community market in our store where we're selling local items from local vendors, and this is made from walnut. I think there's some maple in that board, and that's from my very good friend Holly Carmichael at True Woods Artisans, which I think you know her. And she makes some of the best boards in the city. So I thought if we're going to give away item, I'll give away one of her beautiful charcuterie boards.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And then we got the cap too. So we talked already about the bridge a little bit. For those of you who might have missed it, the answer is already posted. But if you know which bridge that Urban Timber went in to reclaim material from to make furniture, which Edmonton Bridge, then post that in your comments, and then you'll be entered into the draw for later in the show. So I guess let's talk a bit about, since we talked what, the process. You had to pull the nails out and strip some of the surface off that material that was reclaimed from the Cloverdale Bridge. Let's talk a bit about what it takes to prep the material, because I think often there's a misconception. People go, oh, it's reclaimed. That means the material must have been free or close to it, so the cost should be low. And I know that's not the case, because I've reclaimed some material and a lot of labor goes into it. It's a labor of love and quite a transformation. So what should people look out for if they see a piece of wood? They're like, oh, that'd be awesome to be used for whatever they want to build, a furniture item or something else. What does the process start with?
Well, it's funny you mentioned about the cost of the wood, because when we first started, people were calling us to take down barns and remove buildings from their property. Normally not the person who built that barn. I mean, it was the grandchildren of somebody who had the barn and built it. But then it went from that to, as soon as the trend started to pick up, well, can you come and tear it down, and can you pay us for the wood?
Right.
And so it's been quite a journey, to say the least, with how that whole process works. But the picture that you're showing right now, that's probably one of our most popular items. Those are our box cars, old rail cars, and they've been decommissioned. And we go in and we rip out the floorboards out of those box cars, which are it's really amazing material. It's all glulam, oak, and maple.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's I mean, it was all made for the most part from old growth wood, which means the wood was a lot older, the rings were a lot tighter, and so the material is a lot harder than what you would get just going into a store and buying brand new oak or maple off the shelf. So the process on that is ripping the material out. It's very, very labor intensive. Those cars get flipped upside down first, and then we have to cut out the bolts out of the bottom side to get the floor planks out. And then, of course, all along, you'll see all along there's metal strapping all along the edges. So it is a high labor intensive process to get that wood out. But and then once it comes out, there's usually the cars. Well, we only decommission cars that have a history of the cargo on them. So it's basically guaranteed not to have, it wasn't hauling any harsh chemicals or anything that, any agriculture. It's just box goods for the most part. And so then we take those planks, but they're in rough shape when we get them. And then we have to sand off all of the history. We leave a lot on there, but we have to get the initial dirt and grime off of them, and then basically epoxy fill them and use them for countertops and tabletops.
Gotcha. Do you need to dry this material, or is it just stuff that how do you do that? Do you have a moisture meter and you check for moisture content in the board, and at a certain cutoff point you throw it in the kiln, or how does that generally work?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So there's a really good picture of the kiln getting loaded. So any of the wood that we work with, we want to make sure that it's dry for a number of reasons, including insects. You want to make sure that you get it dry so that you're not getting a bunch of spiders in your house a couple of weeks after you get a table from us. But generally, we look at the moisture content. We'd like it to be under 10%. And so when we get those boards, for the most part, they're over. And so, yeah, we put them in the kiln. It takes about a week to a week and a half to dry them. And then once the other huge benefit of it is, of course, wood with moisture loves to move. And in Alberta, we probably have one of the driest climates for wood in North America. And so we don't really have to worry. We're actually lucky as woodworkers. We don't have to worry about moisture going back in the summer months and coming out in the winter months like they do in Ontario. We just really have to worry about the moisture leaving the wood. So we dry it down to 6-7%. And after we do that, we find that the wood generally doesn't move.
Right. Yeah, it's an important step for sure. And I think that, back when I used to make more furniture myself, I remember I was off working in Australia and I got commissioned to build some cabinets on a yacht. And the owner supplied me with wood to build some hardwood. I wasn't familiar with the types of wood that were out there. I was really just, oh, sure, I can do this for you. He gave me this wood and I was like, well, shouldn't we dry it out for a while? I was, oh, no, it's good to go. So I built these cabinets for him on this yacht. And if you know, working on a boat, nothing is square. So everything's scribed. I put hundreds of hours into these cabinets. I left on a surf trip. I came back and it had all shrunk. None of the joints were tight anymore. And it was it was so frustrating. It was a learning curve thing for sure. And I've kind of carried that with me as I've gotten to this company now. And we create stuff and it's just like, man, it's got to be dry. There's a certain point. If it's too dry, that's a problem too. But I can imagine reclaiming it must be something that if you don't do it properly, you're going to regret it because you put so much love and care into what you're building, then it might just implode, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's happened to us. I mean, it's funny with the boat story. You could just send that boat down to the Florida Keys for a couple months, and it would probably expand back out for you.
Yeah.
Your cabinets would be perfect again. But yeah, no, it definitely is a learning curve. I mean, when we first started building barn doors, we had problems with our doors kind of taking a life of their own. They would twist or warp. So we figured out a process of drying the wood and then building a solid core in all of our doors to make sure that everything is stable and they don't move on us. So it certainly, I'd love to say that I came into this with all the answers, but it certainly was a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that's just one more reason to, consult with an expert. So if you're considering doing this at home, like, good on you, give it a shot, but do your research, don't cut your corners, because
sure.
That can really backfire. So, and again, like, I look at vendors like you for a source of inspiration often, and then of course for that knowledge base, and to make sure that when my clients come on board and they're interested in something like you would build, then we talk about all the sides of what to consider, especially putting a furniture piece in your home. There's some things I'm sure to consider, like if you're going to use reclaimed wood as your countertop, for example, and there's a pretty good few pictures you sent me here. Like, what do you need to consider with care and treatment of a reclaimed wood top versus someone who's putting a quartz top in or something like that? What would be a maintenance issue there?
Well, for sure, there's a big difference. I mean, the reclaim, we kind of suggest, and I'd love to take everybody's business and build the entire kitchen out of reclaimed wood, but for the most part, our clients are using it for more of feature spaces in the kitchen, like this island that you see here along the back wall in the same kitchen. They've got their sink, and then they've got a nice slab of quartz there where they're able to have around wet surface areas. It's a little bit more acceptable. Not that the reclaimed wood doesn't work there. We've done lots of sink cutouts and different for ranges, as you see here, but the prep for it is completely different than a table. There's a lot more work in it. Like we basically epoxy flood that countertop so that every single little nook and cranny is sealed. So that's the first process when we're doing a countertop. And then the second thing that I use on it is a food safe hard wax oil. And so you can basically, if you wanted to use that piece of wood for cutting on, which lots of our clients do, they just want to add more scarring into the wood itself, and they use it for cutting boards right on top of their counters. So the advantage of an oil based product as opposed to a poly is that if you do put your coffee mug on it, or somebody spills a beer and you've got some staining, you can spot treat those areas with a light sand out and then retreat it with the oil, and you don't have to sand down the entire countertop like you would with a poly. So it's a different type of maintenance, of course, to quartz, but it's not necessarily a hard maintenance process as long as you know what you're doing.
Right. As long as, I guess, they are prepared to deal with some ongoing maintenance, right? And I guess
sure.
If you're planning to do this yourself at home, I think, Darren touched on making sure that your oil, your finished surface is food safe, because we've made lots of cutting boards here over the years with leftover materials as gifts to people. And it's one thing that we learned early on is you got to make sure you use the right product. Otherwise, you're giving someone a gift that might be a curse at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay. So aside from bugs and rot and hazardous materials, anything else you should consider or that is kind of maybe not common knowledge about the challenges that come with reclaiming wood, whether it be for a surface you're going to work and cut on, or whether it's just to be exposed in your home? Like, are there particular wood products or types of wood that are preferred, or there are woods you might want to stay away from?
No, just have fun with it. If you see something that you like, just get creative with it. I mean, we have a garage sale that we do couple times a year, and we just have some cutoffs and smaller pieces, and people come in and they pick them up from us, and they send us pictures after, and I'm like, wow, I'm so inspired. Like, there's so much that you can do with reclaimed wood. But I will say the only other thing I can think of that people should be aware of is lead paint. We used to reclaim a little bit of colored barn board, and then we test it every single time with a test kit. And what we're finding is it's just easier to use like gray barn board and then add a patina finish to it. Like we just I can go through how we do it, but it's very, very simple. And we do it with brand new low VOC paint, but it gives the effect of it being old. Because, like they did use, 35, 40 years ago, they were still using a lot of lead paint. So that'd be the only thing I would say look out for. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep, good pointers for sure. So let's talk a bit about some of the products and the furniture items and treatments, I guess, that you've done with the wood. And you've sent me a whole bunch of photos and, just beautiful stuff. And I guess we'll start with, some of the kitchens here. And you can see how you can use these products in different ways. So instead of a countertop, here we have it like a wall treatment. So instead of maybe a backsplash tile here, we have this product. So what is this that's on there now? And, what do you have to consider when using it as a backsplash?
Well, that's a stickwood. And anyone that doesn't know what stickwood is, it is our ultimate DIY material that we sell at the store. It is made from real reclaimed barnwood, and then it's milled down to 1/16 of an inch, and it's got a peel and stick backing on it. So we have sold over 100,000 square feet of stickwood in the time that we've been in business. And I think only 1 or 2 clients have not put it on themselves. So everybody that gets it from us doesn't. Some people don't think they can put it on, and then a few days later they send us pictures and they're like, "We did it, we crushed it." So it's a pretty exciting product for us. When you're using it for a backsplash, it just depends on like this with a stove. We suggest just putting on a clear water-based poly finish on it, so it becomes a little bit more wipeable, because it will stain being real wood. But if there's not a stovetop surface behind, and it's just like a sink or down the countertop, you really don't have to worry about treating it with anything. Yes. The only place that you can't use stickwood is in an enclosed bathroom with a shower. You can use it in open en-suites and powder rooms, but if there is steam and moisture, the peel and stick will not work. But another really good point is in the 7 years we've been selling it, we haven't had one return of stickwood. It's been a really amazing product for us. So nice. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Yeah. I got River City Tile here chiming in saying, "Boo." See a tile backsplash, but he says, "Oh, it looks really nice." So I'm assuming that's Aaron. Good to have you. Yeah. Well, that was being nice. I thought Aaron would be a little more aggressive on that, but yeah. Well, we'll get him on the show at some point, and then we can get some banter going back and forth between you guys. Oh, that'd be great. That would be great. So this looks like is this the same product as stickwood, but just in a herringbone pattern, or is this a different product that's on here? Yeah, no, that's stickwood in a herringbone pattern. So you can do it like in a whole slew of different arrangements. That's what's really fun about that product. Yeah, no doubt. And it's beautiful stuff, and it's great when you say that people are mostly installing it themselves, because I think it's really empowering for people, I think, to be able to do something themselves in their home that looks beautiful. It becomes a focal point in the home and looks like a professional did it, right? So I think when you find a product like the stickwood where it's very user-friendly, I think it's a real win on multiple sides, right? You've got recycled product going back into the marketplace. You've got people who are doing their own projects and feeling really good and proud about it. And good for local business like you, where you got a product that's turning over and it's helping to build your business. So I think that's a three-way win on that one for sure. Yeah, stickwood's amazing. It really is. And it like you said, the best part about it is just seeing our clients' photos. I love when people come in and say they can't do something, And then a week later, they're like, I did it. Honestly, it gets me every time. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the giveaway item again, only because we're about 25 minutes in, so we have a lot of new people who've tuned in to check it out. So our giveaway this week is a custom-made charcuterie board and a ball cap. So these are donated by Urban Timber. To qualify to win, you need to let us know which Edmonton bridge Urban Timber recycled material from to manufacture furniture and a whole bunch of other types of products. So I'll give you a hint by throwing up a shot of the bridge, if I can find it here in my directory of photos. Oh, it's in there somewhere. There we go. There it is. There's a hint. If you live here, you probably walked across it at some point and went, wow, what a view. Can I jump in the river? I hope you didn't. Anyhow, there you go. So enter your name in, or the name of the bridge in the comments. You'll be entered into the draw later. Let's see here. I see a wrong answer.
Yeah, and that's actually one. Yeah, and that's like one of our friends. So I don't know how that. Maybe she's trying to throw people off.
Oh yeah, there you go. Curveball.
We just built them a really cool picnic table. Actually, we charred it, and yeah, it was really neat.
Nice. I think I have a picture of one of these picnic tables here. Hold on. I don't know if it's the same one or not, but let me pull it up here. Bear with me.
There's my wife chiming in with the right answer.
Oh, I'm glad you got it right. There we go.
You can't win, Leanne.
That's how my wife always feels about the stuff we give away, but I want it.
I know.
Can't do
I don't live in Edmonton.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So, okay, moving on. So let's talk a bit about a really popular trend right now, and I don't think I have any pictures of it up, but is the Shou Sugi ban. So there's lots of that right now. It's really popular, and let's talk a bit about the kind of the history behind it and where that, where it comes from. And this is not it. This is the closest picture I have to something dark like that. This is actually just a piece of fur that I've dark stained and whatnot. But let's see here.
Well, I can actually show you. I'm sitting on my deck, and I built a pergola last year. It was the summer of the pergola, we called it, because it rained so much that I couldn't get it done. But so this timber here is actually charred, and then we did some more charring up on the top there. I don't know if you can see that, if that's making sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So what's the process? And I know, well, I'll let you explain it. Where did it come from, and what's it all about, and what's the origins of Shou Sugi ban?
So the Shou Sugi ban was started like centuries ago by the Japanese, and I'm sure that it came from buildings that were burnt at one point, and they started to realize that burnt wood didn't allow any insects in after it was burnt. Weather, it was good in rain and wind and all sorts of moisture conditions. So what happens is when you char the wood, it changes the cell structure of the wall inside of the wood itself. And so it doesn't allow, it seals, I guess the easiest way to explain it is it seals up the grain, and which makes it very, very good for all weather conditions: snow, rain, sun, and insects and rot. It will not rot. So it is a process. It's not as easy as just grabbing a torch and charring. I mean, you can get the appearance of Shou Sugi ban by just charring a piece of wood, but to actually get the wood to change the way it reacts to weather, you have to get it to a certain temperature. So aesthetically, we've done both. We've done coffee tables and dining room tables where we've done the effect of the Shou Sugi ban on those surfaces. But for our siding product, we actually go through the whole process of getting the wood heated to a certain temperature, and then it changes the structure of the wood itself.
Yeah, interesting. It's one of those things where I think people misinterpret that maybe it's just an aesthetic thing that we're doing.
Correct.
Oh, it looks cool, but no, it very much was kind of a way to preserve the wood on some level. And yeah, it's an old process. And my wife just chimed up in there saying we watched a show about the product, and I remember I'm giving Darren a chance to explain it because he knows more than me. But it was really, well, the show. Oh, I forget the name of it. It was called I'll have to look it up. I'll post it again later. But I think it's called Houses, and it talks about very unique homes that are built around the world. And this one guy built this house, and he went into detail explaining why he opted to go with that, and talked a bit about the background. But it's something that's really interesting to see how, it can be aesthetically beautiful, but also super functional and practical at the same time. And watching the process, it was something that was, it was very time consuming the way this guy approached it. I don't know how you guys do it, but this guy's technique was he had 3 pieces shaped into a triangular, almost like a tube of some sort, and they placed it in the fire from the bottom, and they heat rushes out the top. And it was, look at the size of the house this guy finished and go, holy smokes, that's a lot of work, 3 boards at a time.
Guy's got a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so I guess, is there any other techniques like that that, are used for preserving the wood, maybe aside from the actual charring of the product?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple of those that we're actually getting into manufacturing. The charred wood gives the aesthetic that people really like, but there's also 2 more products out of New Zealand. One called a koya, and that's starting to become a really big name in the architectural world. And it's a pine that they grow very, very quickly in plantations. So it's all green and FSC certified and everything, all that good stuff. But they actually go through an acetylation process with that wood. And the easiest way to explain that without boring all of our listeners here is it pickles the wood. So again, it changes the cell structure of the wood by a pickling method as opposed to a charring method. So yeah, really, really cool.
Yeah, neat. I mean, I think, this is not new technology per se. I think, and the use of reclaimed material has been around for ages. And it's often been for a variety of reasons that they've done it. And I think, probably during the times of the Depression, it was done for one reason. And now I think people do it almost to feel good about, having used a product like that, not only because it's beautiful, but because it's sustainable in some way to help and reuse material. And like on our project, I hate throwing stuff in the landfill. Like I do whatever I can to save material and reuse it in some way. I end up being a little bit of a pack rat because of it. My shop's full of stuff that I couldn't throw in the landfill, but I got nothing to do with it yet. So I got to have maybe a garage sale one day myself. So, but actually, while I'm rambling about me, I want to show a project we did. This is where I met you, actually, was through Vignettes. So the Vignettes design series, it's a great, we're actually going to have them on the show later in August. Towards the end of August, we're going to talk about Vignettes and all the people who participated and what the future of Vignettes look like. But if you don't know what Vignettes is, it's basically a design series that groups together a designer, a builder, a maker, and an artist. And you're all given kind of an equal space. You come up with your own concept and you create something. So 2 years ago, I was with a team at Wabi Sabi Design. It was Glenn Ronald, the artist. I had Travis from Fitted Furnishings, he's the maker, and myself. And we came up with this concept to build. Our theme was Wabi Sabi, which is kind of the beauty of imperfection, right? So we ended up taking a bunch of old timbers that came out of this old Manning grain elevator. And our friends over at Mira Timber Frame, they had salvaged a whole bunch of timbers out of this building. And one of my old product supervisors, Sean, knew those guys, and we talked to them about getting some old twisted material that we could use for this imperfect space we wanted to build. And so we ended up, they had a whole bunch of this sitting in their yard, and we ended up building this space. And here's a shot of it. We used these old timbers from the Manning grain elevator. Travis from Fitted Furnishings had these 2 barn doors that came out of Mayerthorpe, and they're about from 1905, I think. So it was very old, and we put this together and made this little space. And it was with such positive feedback from everyone who saw this space. It felt so good, and Gwen did a great job making everything inside feel distressed and old. And we reused a whole bunch of live edge stuff that was from another yard, and we just kind of used the rugged stuff that we could find, and it made a really beautiful space in the end. And we won People's Choice that year for a vignette, which was awesome. But it really, I think, spoke about like how interested people are in seeing what you can do with this old stuff. And the nice part for this, we finished the vignette. It was great. We had some material left over that we took from site. And then we ended up having a client who we were able to take one of those timbers and give it a third life as a mantle for him. We don't have the fireplace installed yet, but you can see there's the mantle. And we managed to put one of the barn doors from that into his house. You can see the green stickers on the wall. That's my deficiency stage still with some paint touch-ups. But so you can see how nice this barn door, how much character it brings into this guy's basement. So, I think I'm a huge fan of seeing wood be given a new life. And, what you guys do with it is just amazing. I mean, some of the stuff you guys build is so beautiful. And, like I keep pulling pictures of the table, but like, I mean, it's something that for me, we'll talk soon about a table for my house, I'm sure. But, and there's different ways you can do it, like that's the beauty of the reclaimed material is you can, I guess let's talk a bit about that, because you can see from this one table, this is where you have a whole bunch of stuff laminated together, it looks like. And then we have a wider plank with a kind of a border on it. Then we have some other stuff where we've got big honking timbers used. Can you explain a bit about the process? And like this table here, for example, this has to pose some challenges laminating pieces together like this.
Yeah, so that table, well, first and foremost, that Glen Ronald buffalo, I every time I see that buffalo from Glen Ronald my wife is in love with that painting, and Glen has done everything possible to try to get us that painting, but we don't have an 11-foot wall in my house. So,
right. It's funny you say that, because I feel the same way. And I've been talking with Glenn about how we can get that in my house. And the challenge is I have a 12-foot wall, but the 12-foot wall with the 11-foot painting might look a little tight. So,
right.
Yeah, but it's
right.
beautiful. That's what I agree 100%. Sorry to.
No, it's amazing. Actually, Glenn is, if you go back to the picture you're just on there that you were asking me, yeah. So the boxcar table, that's out of boxcar planks, but we're actually doing Glenn and I are doing a trade. So I'm making him a boxcar table, and he's making me his interpretation of David Grohl, who's like one of my favorite guys in the world. So
I've seen this painting.
Have you? I have not seen it.
Yeah, he was saying, like, when we did the show with Glenn a few weeks ago, and he like, whoa, should I get a picture of Darren's? He's like, no, that can't go out. He can't see that yet. So
I know I'm the guy, and he's like, oh, you're that guy, and I'm that guy. I cannot. Well, it's the same with our tables. If our clients ask us to take pictures of the tables in process, we're really reluctant. We like to have the big reveal at their homes when we set it up. So that's kind of part of the whole thing that we just love doing. Like all of us from all of our builders just love seeing the reaction. But that particular table is so that is the boxcar. So those planks come in 12-inch wide tongue and groove strips that are about 8 feet long. So we don't do, the only lamination that we do on those are the joint laminations when we're joining the table like back together. Yeah. So those were all glued up 60, 70 years ago.
Well, yeah, it's beautiful stuff. And then when you get into, like, I've made some tables back in my youth and didn't know a lot of it about how to use the vices yet. And I ended up with a lot of bowed tables, right? And it's something that, for anyone out there who's going to be doing their own project, you're going to make a tabletop, I mean, especially something like this where you are laminating lots of boards together. If you don't have the right setup to be able to clamp this down properly, you'll get a pretty good bow or a wow out of it, right? So. Oh,
absolutely. And it's also about the continuing that when it goes into your client's home. I mean, like we design our legs in a very specific way so that we don't get that bowing. I mean, we like the wood when we clamp it, it's flat, but we also want to make sure and ensure that it stays flat once it's in your home. So those metal legs all have 1/2-inch flat bar plates at the top, and so everything is extremely secure. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves is when a table wobbles. So we'll guarantee that your table will never wobble from urban timber. So
right, as long as it goes on a flat floor, right?
Yes, as long as it's yeah, that's right. I have nothing to do with your floor, but the table will be solid.
Absolutely. So I like the combination of materials. Like I'm a big fan of wood with steel or wood and stone, or mix it up. I like the contrast, the texture, I think. But I can, it sounds obvious like it's practical too, how you're doing it to help eliminate that, that warpage later.
Right.
Here's again, I guess, some more of this.
The stickwood.
The stickwood,
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like we see it a lot now too, where we're doing feature walls, and I think like a lot of people historically have done, wallpaper for feature walls, and we see now people putting some flooring products on there. Oh, I'm just going to get some laminate flooring and glue it to my wall. I guess that's doable, right? But I think that, something like this is far thinner. It's going to weigh less. It's not going to be so bulky. You won't need to worry about, if you're putting this on a wall where you've got a switch or receptacle, if you're putting on a 3/8 thick material, you have to put box extensions on your switches and plugs now, whereas something like this is very thin. I think you can probably get away without it.
You can, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can just bring them back out. It's yeah, I mean, again, I can't say enough about that material and the ease of use. You basically need one tool. You need a miter saw, and if you don't have one, there's a chance that your neighbor will lend you one for a 6-pack of beer. So
there you go. I guess before we get into this topic, let's talk about the giveaway prize again. I tend to forget about it sometimes. So Darren over at Urban Timber is giving away this custom-made charcuterie board and urban timber cap. To qualify for the giveaway, you have to list which City of Edmonton bridge did they reclaim material from to make furniture and other items. Here's a pic of the bridge. The answer has been posted. Don't listen to K.A. Lackey. Wrong. Or he. But yeah, anyway, so enter your comment, and at the end of the show, we'll do a random draw for the winner, and then you can either come by Urban Timber to pick it up from their showroom, or maybe we get it to my office and pick it up from us. We'll figure that out later. Let's go back to the slide here. So this, I'm assuming, is a display in your showroom.
That is actually at Iron River Surfaces. So we not only can you get our mantles from us, but we do have a few distributors in the city that carry our mantles, and yeah, Iron River's one. River City, I'll throw them a bone today. They're a really good supplier of urban timber products as well. So like some of the smaller community. It's funny, we always get asked, oh, you must be a competitor of that person. I really honestly can't think of many competitors that we have. We certainly have people that do the same stuff as we do in the city, but for the most part, there's a lot of collaboration between companies in Edmonton. It's, I think you know that from doing the work that you do, that it's, and what's really unique about that is that there's, you don't see that in a lot of other places. Like even just going 2 hours down the highway, it's a lot different in Calgary, and they protect their business a lot more than we do here in Edmonton. We just seem to want to collaborate more with each other. So yeah, no, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I agree, and that was something that really, I never noticed it as much until I became part of Vignettes, and that was where I really got to know a lot more people who were like-minded. Because I felt when in the beginning of my existence of my company, there wasn't many people who seemed to be on the same page with what my goals were for my company and how I wanted to do the work, and being creative and supporting local craftsmen and kind of being that little guy out there trying to make a big impact. And then through vignettes, I got to know companies like you and a bunch of different artists and other contractors, and like Ken from Revington and the guys at River City,
right.
and a whole bunch of people, and when I get a chance to work together very often, but there's such a mutual respect amongst each other because of how we do business and how we would support each other. And it's all about doing it right and best practice and good service and like pushing the edge on design a little bit, and all things custom, right? And that's, I think, where it comes in now. Like what you guys do is just like kind of mind blowing as far as what you can do with a piece of old wood, right? And reusing old technologies that, like the Shou Sugi band. That's amazing where that comes from. And here it is now in our society, and it's, in our marketplace, and it works.
Yeah, actually, when you're saying that, one of the cooler stories at Urban Timber is some of the flooring that we do, our reclaimed flooring, or even our old growth flooring that comes from for the most part dead standing trees, or trees that were removed because of development, which like a lot of that actually happens in Edmonton here. But some of the walnut and hickory that we're getting out of the eastern United States, the land rights are owned by Amish, and they're the ones that are milling that wood for the flooring. And they're using traditional milling methods, which are over 100 years old. So when you see the circle sawn marks in our flooring, that's actually from a saw that's cutting that in the forest. They bring it out there and they cut all the wood out in the middle of the forest. So it's a cool story, because when you see flooring, if you just go to Home Depot and you look at some of the flooring, hardwood flooring they have, and they've got those circle saw marks on it. Those marks would have been replicated in some factory in China, where if you want those marks out of our floor, we actually have to plane them out, because they're from the equipment that was used to cut it. So just kind of keep continuing with the history. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And it's funny, you see different ways people now are trying to veneer things to make it look old and adding the character through like little design touches, when it's just really, it's a veneer that's added, they make things look distressed, but they actually aren't, I mean, it's like distressed MDF or something, where it's banged up, scratched, and then painted. Oh, look, it's distressed. It's like, well, it's something. But
and I mean, there's a place for that too. I mean, it's about, with our stuff, if a client needs to work something within their budget, they might have to go that way. I mean, it's, our stuff certainly does carry a higher price tag on certain items, just because of, like I explained before, just because of the labor to get the items to the point where we can build out of them. But if they need to use veneers for building cabinetry, and they want a boxcar top for that cabinet, we just love doing that. We love to get creative. It doesn't necessarily have to be all reclaimed.
Right.
It can work within their budget. And you can get really creative with we always ask people really what their budgets are, because if it doesn't work for something that we've presented on the first go around, then we can try to pull some things out and still give them the look that they want, and then still have that one piece that is kind of the showpiece where they can go, yeah, this is from an old cargo trailer or from the Cloverdale Bridge. It's flexible.
Absolutely. I would agree. And we do the similar process with our projects with the client. We like to know the budget so we can see, where can we put some extra touches to really make something stand out as remarkable, right? And not everyone can afford everything to be remarkable. And that's okay, right? We can do stuff where it's a bit more budget friendly and save some money and put it elsewhere to give you that really cool feature, right? And sometimes the feature doesn't have to be expensive, right? It just really depends on what the product is. But I like how you guys approach that too, because you're right. Because you like reclaimed doesn't mean everything has to be reclaimed. You could, have something that works well with it. For example, in this photo here, those are not reclaimed cabinets, I wouldn't imagine.
No.
But, your floor, your barn doors, your top, they certainly appear to be. And it's a great overall look. I mean, it's something that not every house could do this. You need a certain size of a space to be able to, at a finish like this, but looks amazing.
Well, and this house got a total. This was an older house. It got a total reno, which there was really a fantastic job they did on it. But behind that barn door is a drop down den. And I mean, I know they didn't do this with us, but it's just another example where, like, if people come in, they're like, oh, I just love your reclaimed flooring, but I don't have the budget to put it in my entire house. I always say, well, then why don't we put it in your master bedroom? Why don't we put it in your office or your drop down den? Like, it doesn't have to, it can work on its own. It does not need to go through the entire space. So and then people, oh yeah, actually maybe we should just put it in our bonus room, so you have that history and you have that showpiece, but you can use obviously a more budget friendly hardwood in the rest of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. Great approach. I'm going to show a couple of pictures here from a little job that I did. And I took, again, the wood that was from the Manning granite elevator that went into the vignettes thing. I had some left over. I decided to make a mantle for myself. So here's a chunk of it sitting on my table. I've cut that to fit my mantle. I liked how it looked like this, just kind of gnarly and raw, and that's some old wood. But there was a lot of rot on it, so I hit it with the planer, and I loved this look too. I was like, man, that looks slick. But my wife wanted something darker. So in the end, we brought it to look like this. And it's a beautiful piece of wood. It's in my house now. But I want to show, I don't know what the audio is going to do here, but it just kind of shows me wiping the stain. It's like a gel stain onto it. And just the way, like, the rot absorbed the deep colors so much, and the less rotten material didn't. And it really gave it such it was really fun for me to do this. It was kind of my first time really playing with wood like that. And just to end up then with a piece, I'm sure you guys have different and better techniques than I use, but it was fun,
looks pretty good,
weekend job that I did, and we ended up with a piece that's got some history in our home. And like, as I mentioned to you earlier, when we were at Vignettes, and we had talked a bit about how the wood came out of that Manning grain elevator, we had a lady approach us and mention her father had just recently passed away, and he had worked at the Manning grain elevator, and she was really excited to get a mantle made for her home that had that history, right? And that's one of the things that comes with what you do, is there's a history behind it, right? Whether it's out of one of those box cars, whether it's from the Cloverdale Bridge, there's always a super cool story about what's behind it. And speaking of what's behind it, this is the guy that's behind you. So There you go. There's your dad.
That's my pops.
The OG.
Yeah, that's my pops, who is the most selfless guy you'll ever meet in the world. And really, actually, I maybe should mention too, kind of just on the family thing, because I like to plug a little bit of what we do with Alzheimer's. But my dad, basically in my family, we had, two seasons. We had the indoor renovation season and the outdoor renovation season growing up. So there was never a time where I wasn't working on the house at some sort of capacity. Mm-hmm. So my mom was like an unbelievable finisher. Sanding and finishing work, my mom was so good at. And I learned a ton from her. We built all of our cabinetry out. We've done lots of kitchen cabinetry, but anyway, so when we started this business, my dad thought we were crazy to be using this old wood. But we started the projects, and people really were drawn to it. And my mom used to do the finishing work. My dad would build the tables, and my mom would sand them down and stain them. And then they'd load up a trailer and they bring them up. This is from Regina. They were in Regina at that point. They're in Lethbridge now. But my mom had very early stages of Alzheimer's then, but it progressed now 8 years later into full-time care. And my mom's basically a shell of her former self. So she doesn't talk anymore. She's basically just stares at a wall all day, which is something that we've had to accept with our family. But we've really, like my dad and I and my wife, we sat down and we said, how can we keep my mom involved in the business? And so with our dining room tables, we give a portion of the sale to the Alberta Alzheimer's Society. So Urban Timber has done, I think over the past 6 years that we've been involved in this, we've done close to $100,000 to the Alberta Alzheimer's. So just something that I like to plug Alzheimer's because I love Alzheimer's awareness. I'm very deep in that community, and I think that more and more of us are affected by it. When my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and when I was a young boy, it was something that I had to explain to the kids at my school what Alzheimer's was. And now, if you ask anyone if they have anyone in their family affected by Alzheimer's, the chances are very high. Mm-hmm. They've got an uncle or a great aunt or a cousin, or somebody in their family has or has been affected by Alzheimer's. So yeah, we're very involved in that community too.
Well, good for you guys. That's fantastic, and it must be challenging for your family for sure. And yeah, it's great that you're making those donations. And you're right, awareness is the start, right? We all got to have someone that's affected by something, whether it's Alzheimer's sure. or cancer, or I think there's so many things out there that are starting to, I guess, impact our lives and our health. And I guess here we are with COVID. It's just another example now of how the human condition, and so good on you for guys for doing that.
Yeah, and it's sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to piggyback on that. It's such a great point that it is like it's our battle, and but everybody does have their own battle. I mean, everyone has something, heart disease or cancer, like you said. So we really appreciate the support of everybody, and our client base has been unbelievable with that support. And again, it's just them coming back to we have a family member that's been affected by this, so we're really happy that you guys are supporting it. So yeah,
absolutely. I guess we'll move on to last call for the contest. So here, Urban Timber has donated this custom-made wooden charcuterie board and an Urban Timber cap. If you want to be entered into the draw, you need to name which City of Edmonton bridge Urban Timber reclaimed material from. The answer has been posted. The picture's been put up. So enter your answer now, and then we'll get you qualified for the draw. We'll have the winner in about 2 minutes here. Yeah, so we've got not a lot of time left here, but I'm just going to put your information back up on the page. So yeah, Darren Cunningham from Urban Timber. Thanks so much for being on the show today. If you're at home and you're planning a project, you're interested in doing something with reclaimed materials, definitely reach out to the Urban Timber crew. Their phone number and all their handles and contact details are shown on the screen now. So reach out to them directly. If you're planning a bigger project, you have a home renovation in mind, and you'd like to incorporate some of the pieces like what Urban Timber does within a larger scope, then absolutely reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about your job. As always, you're planning to do it yourself. I don't mind giving you some advice to help steer you clear of landmines. There's a lot to consider. Talk to a professional, get some help. Don't waste too much of your time and money. I'm just going to wait here. Any last minute questions, you guys enter them into the comments below. We got about 2 minutes, and then Instagram cuts me off at 1 hour sharp. So mid sentence or not, it'll be done at 2. So
is my wife running that, or what?
Yeah,
that's exactly how it is in my house. I think she left the chat, so I'm safe.
Oh yeah, there you go.
This isn't recorded, is it?
It is. It'll be reposted.
I don't know how this works. I don't know how this works. I am so bad at technology. I am horrible at it. So.
Well, you did great today. It's been nice chatting with you for sure.
I was able to hold the phone up for long enough to get through this. So
in your shoulder now.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's been a pleasure, and I want to thank you for doing this. I mean, it takes an immense amount of work, and you're certainly a professional. I can tell you that the way you set it up is better than most things we get requested to do. So, and putting the spotlight back on local artisans and keeping the local community vibrant, especially now, I think is really important. So yeah, thanks for doing this.
You're very welcome. I enjoy it, and I couldn't do it without my marketing help, Alyssa Fessick. She's there in the background. She's kind of we'll call her my producer. And she does a great job. And, I like any good man's got to get one behind him. My wife's fantastic. She's a producer, actually, from her previous career. She gives me lots of advice along the way. So thanks for the great feedback. I'm just waiting to see the name of the winner, and I don't see it pop up yet. Alyssa, if you hear it, just you might as well post the name in the comments. That's probably the easiest way now. We've got 22 seconds left. If we don't get it before the show ends, I'll reach out to you directly. I'll send you a direct message, and we'll let you know. Darren, thanks again. It's great to have a chance to chat with you. Thanks for showcasing your work. All my best to you and your family. And our renovation every Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Tune in.